On this week's episode of the A2B podcast, I'm joined by Niall Horgan, co-founder and CEO of Gym+Coffee. Having graduated from University College of Cork in 2008 with a degree in commerce, Niall spent 10 years working in different sales and marketing roles with the likes of Sky, Twitter and Slack, before jumping ship in 2017 to start an athleisure clothing company with his best friends. Hi Niall, how's it going?
Great, Jack. How are you?
I'm very good. How are you keeping up? And are you based in Dublin or Cork at the moment?
Yeah, based in Dublin. So I'm in Dublin 10 years at this stage. So Cork accent comes and goes.
And you guys, are you in the office at the moment?
We're coming back in a little bit. So we're doing about a day a week in the office with a smaller team. Yeah, exactly.
That's great. You've had some big things happening recently. The Blanchardstown.
We did. We opened our Blanchardstown store, which was in the makings for a number of months. We actually planned to open in April, and obviously for obvious reasons that didn't go ahead. So it finally opened there the last weekend of August, and is our biggest store yet. So really excited to get that finally launched and doing really well so far. Really happy with it.
How many stores does that bring you up to total?
That's 6 now at the moment. Yeah, so 6 stores.
Mad. God. And you're just in Ireland, right? Or have you stores abroad?
That's right, just in Ireland at the moment, but watch this space very soon. We should have some news about.
Lovely.
Yeah.
I love that. Brilliant stuff. But look, before we'll get into all the future of Gym+Coffee later on. But let's bring you back to, I suppose, just before 2008. You studied commerce in the University College of Cork.
Yeah, that's right. I did a commerce degree in UCC, graduated in 2008.
Why did you decide to study commerce now?
Yeah, good question. I suppose I always knew I had a good interest in business throughout secondary school, and knew that I wanted to have a career in some element of it. But obviously, there's so many different parts that you could classify as falling under business. So I felt the commerce degree was a good broad degree, and it was exactly what I expected. You got a good flavor of all different subject areas within your first year. So you're doing things like law and accounting and economics and marketing and management and information systems, loads of stuff. And then you specialize as the years go on. So it was great. Yeah, you got a really good kind of foundation level in all those areas, and then got to specialize. And as I progressed through college, kept marketing, management, and maths, actually, of all things, as my subjects.
And what was it about marketing and management and maths that you liked?
Yeah, so I would have always really enjoyed advertising. So I thought advertising was an exciting part of business. Would have done a lot of my college projects on brand building, how to connect with an audience, how to build a business. So really found that those areas just fascinating. So the case studies we would have done of businesses and brands beginning, and then getting to whatever size they were, I always found that a really interesting part to focus in on. So always loved that, and I kind of had a good sense that was where my passions and skills would have sat, rather than maybe on the accounting or the economic side of things. And I suppose maths was my minor subject. Always just was good at maths, so I was lucky to keep that up, and I knew would get to be able to get the grade with that, even though it probably wasn't where any passions lied.
No, that's fair. I think my accounting and finance grades for college haven't been the best. I have I have the basics. I understand it, that the logistics behind things. But my lecturers certainly don't take it well when I say we'll just hire an accountant. That's that's my plan.
Well, I'm like an old fella now, saying that I wish I did more accountancy and finance in college, because it is a skill, my friend, that is incredibly valuable to you. So as I'm in business and trying to run your own one and all this kind of stuff, having a better grounding in that would have been probably a bit better. But thankfully we did hire some incredible people who could look after that part of the business. But yeah, as an old fella, commenting now, I'm like, maybe I should pay a bit more attention in those classes.
That's fair enough. I'm the exact same for law then as well. I'm just like, look, we'll get the solicitors, don't worry about it. But no, that's thanks for sharing that. It's something I'll definitely keep in mind. I know I have a module of finance left for my final year, so I might just decide to pull up the socks for this module this year.
It'll stand.
Other than, I suppose, modules and grades, Niall, you were involved in a lot of clubs and societies in UCC.
Yeah, I was, yeah. So I suppose would have been a very sporty growing up, would have played an awful lot of GA. So in college, it made total sense to be part of the GA club. So would have played, um, from Fresher right up to Sigerson and Fitzgibbon in football and hurling. So would have been, actively playing it, but also involved in the administration side of things as well. So as club secretary and PRO at different stages. And then on the society side, was very involved with the Commerce Society. So would have been class rep for a number of years and was involved in putting the Commerce Conference together in 2007, I think. And yeah, would have always enjoyed getting involved in other stuff outside of obviously your studies, because I think it's part and parcel of the college experience. And it was always nice to have something that's being added to the CV, but also I found actually it was more than that. It was enjoyable. It was a great way to meet people. It was great getting involved in things and take on some projects that were very rewarding for a college student.
Do you feel that getting involved with so many different extracurricular activities in college stood to you after graduation? Were they brought up in interviews at the start, or?
Yeah, 1,000,000%. Like two things. One, just like it obviously differentiates you somehow when you're going for a role. Look, people are looking at tens or hundreds of CVs. It's important to try differentiate yourself somehow. So even if that's the bare minimum of what you're looking to get, you should look at it, because it helps you to stand out. But also the kind of second point is you actually do learn more doing it. So you're actually better equipped to get those jobs and perform better in those jobs when you do get them. So it not only gets your foot in the door a little bit better, but when you're actually in there, you've probably worked, as part of teams, as part of, clubs and societies who have their, structures. So you're not working in a structured environment. You've probably taken on projects, if it's fundraising for your college societies, if it's putting together an event for your college societies, if it's just raising awareness of it, all stuff that again is crucial in business. So I would say that it's certainly worth looking at. It's gonna stand to you, both to get your foot in the door, and then actually you'll probably perform better at the role once you do have it.
With that experience that you had taken on from clubs and societies, you then would have gotten your placement in third year with Thomas Crosby Holdings. Now, they once owned the Irish Examiner and Sunday Business Post.
Yeah, that's right. Thomas Crosby Holdings was a fairly massive media company for a long time. And in 2007, I think it was my third year in college, we were the first commerce year that had work experience. So it was quite new, and it was brilliant. It was a really, I think, a huge part of the benefit to the degree when you look at it now, that you got to spend 6 months working in a business and pick up as many skills and pieces of experience that you could at the time. So I was lucky enough to get the role in Thomas Crosby Holdings, which was on the South Mall in Cork. And like you say, they owned the Examiner, the Sunday Business Post. At the time, they owned Red FM. They owned about, 14 or 15 regional newspapers as well. So they were, again, a big media house to go into. And what was, I suppose, interesting for me going in is they were a big organization, but actually had a pretty small marketing team. A lot of the marketing would be done either at a smaller level within the papers or radio stations themselves, but the group marketing would have been a fairly lean team. So it was nice to be able to go in there and join a small team, and actually got pretty exciting projects to work on as somebody who was only on work experience. So found it very beneficial. And even again, coming out of it, it was just, you've kind of started to learn the ropes a little bit on how a business even operates, and just how you conduct yourself around an office environment and things like that are very helpful. So it was good to get that experience, and that in turn then sets you up coming out of college to to take that one step further for a full-time role.
What kind of projects did you get to do with Thomas Crosby, if you don't mind me asking? Were you working on the advertising in the newspapers, or were you working on kind of the B2B side of things for the company?
Yeah, so I'll rack my brains a little bit. There was elements of marketing for the newspapers and the titles themselves, but not a whole pile. Um, what we were working on were there was a lot of events, corporate events that Thomas Crosby would be putting
Oh,
on for
cool.
their biggest kind of clients and stuff like that. So I remember working on one and that was put on in the building in South Mall, and John Cleese was the guest speaker, and got to kind of liaise with him and his people.
Nice.
We were working on at the time the All Ireland's Thomas Crosby All Ireland Schools quiz. I think was a massive thing that they used to do for all schools across the country. So there was a lot of organisation and putting that together. And then there was some kind of just a bit more administrative type projects of budget management and allocation to make sure that each of the regional titles were getting what they should or what they was agreed to. So yeah, it was very broad, and it was working on cool stuff, but also working on stuff that's just good to learn as well at that stage.
That's the great thing about placement is just working in an actual environment where there's no one, well, holding your hand to a degree, which of course it's understandable for the first few weeks, but by the end, you really would want to be able to kind of hold your own there. And I think for a lot of students this year who would have done placement and who were fortunate enough to stay on when COVID hit, I think a lot of them persevered and have learned even more. They get it now. They have the workplace. They have the kind of online, storing onto the G Drive and using proper project management and stuff. But now working through just what was a very difficult time for all of us, that just extra element now for placement has been it's been different. But
Mm.
I think a lot of people will have come out of it. You graduated in 2008, Niall.
Correct. Yeah.
You went traveling for a bit, but before you did, you became a marketing executive with Irish Main Power Holdings.
Yeah. Yeah. I got so lucky with that. So anyone I suppose familiar with the business scene, especially in Cork, would know Dave Ronayne and Irish Mainport Holdings, and I mean they're an incredible success story that would be slightly under the radar as well. But they, I kind of met Dave. There was a position posted on the jobs website in UCC, and they were looking for somebody to come in and do some marketing for the business. Like they said themselves, they do an incredible job of everything that they do, but they don't shout about it enough. And they were maybe a little bit old school in their systems and website and stuff like that. So just needed a little bit of a refresh. So I came in and I can't believe they gave me so much free reign to take on certain projects there.
Nice.
And got to not help them, essentially kind of led the process, was redesigning the website a little bit, putting a bit of a CRM system in place. Again, there was putting more business collateral together so that they could send on that, from sales perspectives, that they could send on to clients, prospective clients. So it was really good experience. It was supposed to be a summer role. But thankfully, they kept me on for a few months after that as well, which kind of fitted in with my plans, like you mentioned, of going traveling. So yeah, silly opportunity that I had coming out of college to get into a role. So they were given a lot of responsibility. I was given a lot of responsibility. So yeah, always incredibly grateful to Dave and to the team there. And they're, I think again with from Dave, he's a guy who really puts a lot of focus on helping businesses and young businesses and young people around Cork.
Yeah, no, I've heard a lot of good things about Dave, especially when speaking to DC. He seems to be kind of one of the big guys in Cork. So that is nice. It's interesting that you came out of college. You were, I would say, very lucky. Now, obviously, you must have been a good student, and you'd done good placement and all that. Not to take credit away from you, but you graduated and got a job then, and then you decided to kind of just leave and travel. And that for me is like kind of when you're on a winning streak with a career or academia. I'm just like, oh, I can't take the foot off now. I have to keep driving this. What was your kind of urge to leave it all behind and just go traveling? Can you like talk me up to that point?
I can. I suppose you're very right in what you say. that, sometimes it's, it's hard and maybe you shouldn't, take your foot off the pedal. But I suppose what worked in my favor is I had made that decision long before I had left college. So I kind of made that decision along with a couple of friends, I'd say within third year. Once we get out of here, we'll take a year off and we'll travel the world and do the gap year thing. So it
Nice.
was always part of my plan, that we'd save up a bit of money for a few months after college and then head off the following year, and that exactly ended up fitting into my plan. So while I had the job at Mainport and it was going really well, it didn't shift focus away, or any interest away from actually going traveling, because it was always part of the plan. So what worked out really well was just the timings, and had a good job there, so I was able to save up for about, I guess, 9 months before jetting off. And yeah, I mean, if I had the chance, I would do it again. I would do it twice as much, merely, or to take longer off. It's an incredible opportunity to be able to do something like that.
Mm.
You also have to remember this was 2008, 2009. I didn't even realize how bleak things were at the time. So just kind of headed off and didn't give it a second thought. So while I suppose other friends of mine who would have come out of college and were moving into graduate programs and stuff like that, it was a bit of a tough year, I suppose, because people were cutting back the programs or cutting back the wages of programs and things like that. And I guess I was living a carefree lifestyle somewhere else. So I kind of delayed my career for a year, and then when I came back, then it was time to focus on it. And I actually I had the experience of being abroad, but I had the motivation then, okay, now I really want to get stuck into it. Whereas sometimes you can get a little bit fatigued coming straight from college and into work and not taking a break, whereas I probably took the break a little early, and then when I came back, it was okay, head down, time to start building a career.
That's great. You kind of given yourself that opportunity to relax and chill out, and then you were like, "All right, this is it. I've gotten that out of my system. Now it's time to hit the ground running." Like,
Yeah, exactly. Like, it was brilliant, and then after a while, you do feel, okay, maybe I am wasting a little bit too much time here, not doing much with my, not doing much career wise. And then so when you come back, you're motivated and energized to kick into it.
how were your travels? Where did you go? I'd like to know a bit about that.
Oh God, yeah. Yeah. So we did a kind of a trip right around the world. Started off in Southeast Asia.
Jesus.
Did the kind of circuit over there of Thailand and Vietnam and Laos and Cambodia and Malaysia and stuff. And then we headed on to Australia. We did both coasts there. We went from there to New Zealand, to Samoa, to Hawaii. And then the last part of the trip, which was quite fun, is we landed in San Francisco in the States, and then we rented a camper van and we drove across the States
My
from San
God.
Francisco to New York. So yeah, super year. Yeah, it'd be nice to do something like that again.
So that was like, how many months was that? Was that a full like?
Pretty much a full year. Left in January. Was back for Christmas.
Oh
So
my
yeah.
God, that's amazing.
Mm.
And did you make any money that year? Were you any part time jobs? Did you go around picking up beans or anything like that?
I mean, when I was in Australia, I worked in a bar slash cafe for a while. Did maybe a week or two working at this. I don't know what you'd even call it. It was kind of like the ploughing championships or something like that. Nearly over there, just working on a stall just to
Brilliant.
save up a bit more money before we headed off to New Zealand. So like tiny bit, but no, we blew all our savings on the year, and I think we all took out a little bit of a loan as well before we headed off. Plenty of time to pay that back.
That had to be done. Fair play. So you would have came home then in 2010.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, early 2010. So I'd come home previous, like, Christmas 2009,
Mm,
and then started looking for jobs in 2010.
okay, you became a sales executive for Sky.
Yeah, yeah, that was the next, I suppose, step for me. So I'd come back from traveling, and I think I knew I kind of had a plan to move to Dublin. A lot of my friends had moved to Dublin, and it felt like at the time the opportunities were there again. This is sort of still middle of the recession, so there wasn't
Mm,
a lot of other opportunity around. So moved, got the role first, and then moved to Dublin to work at Sky as a sales executive. So Sky TV, and the role inside there was working with advertisers and advertising agencies on their TV campaigns. So making sure that they were getting the right amount of TV ads and the right programs, and that was fitting to their audience, and kind of managing their ad spend essentially that would go through TV.
That must have been some crack. That sounds great to me now.
It was good. It was good crack. It was a brilliant first kind of career step back from traveling. You got to work with advertisers. You'd moved to Dublin. It was in the agency world, so there was it was a very social job. You were out a lot. So really enjoyed it there. It was a brilliant team of people there, all kind of young and similar stage in career. So it was really good fun.
Yeah. Do you remember any of the advertisements that you would have been working on?
I can't remember any specific ads, but you're working with all the big. Again, it's 2010, so digital ads. There was nothing. There was nothing in digital ads. There was a bit of SEO, but you hadn't really Facebook, YouTube, nothing like that had properly kicked off. So
of course,
all money was essentially done through traditional media, with TV being the biggest part of that. So you're working with all the biggest brands, be it Coke or Unilever or Heineken or all these type of brands, and making sure that they got the I suppose the best deal that we could give them. So yeah, it was like big ad campaigns, big budgets, and you're making sure then you're fighting internally with the team you worked with to make sure that Heineken got the best spot in the halftime of the match instead of Budweiser, and all this kind of stuff. So yeah, that was the kind of crux of it.
And you spent essentially, I would say, maybe 2.5 years with Sky. You moved on to the next big gig.
Yeah, the next big gig. Yeah, I actually kind of had a funny one to move to the next role. So I wanted to this was again 2012 or end of 2011. I was happy with the role in Sky, but wanted to look at one of the tech companies. And at the time, actually in end of 2011, I interviewed for Google, and there was a complex enough interview process, which thankfully went well, and I got the role in Google. But it was actually kind of funny. There was a choice of roles, and the one I wanted wasn't going to be available for a few months. So I kind of sat back and waited for that role to come available, which was supposed to take maybe 2 months, and then suddenly it was kind of gone 3 months, and it just wasn't becoming available. So I started to look, and Twitter were just setting up their office in Dublin at the time. So I interviewed for Twitter, and literally the day I had my first interview with Twitter, I got offered the role had become available in Google. So they said, we'll have everything, all your contracts and everything over to you within the next 2 weeks, and we want you to start next month. So I then had to say that to Twitter and asked, could we move through that process quite quickly? And luckily they did. So within the space of 2 weeks was I suppose offered two different roles, equally appealing. But made the decision to go to Twitter. Felt that although Google was Google's Google, it's incredible. Twitter were at the stage they had less than 10 people in the office. I would have been and was the first sales hire. So I felt like there was a good opportunity to get in there early in a business, and hopefully then get the more opportunities as a result of being in somewhere early. And I think that's how that worked out. So yeah, moved to Twitter in kind of the summer of 2012, and had an incredible couple of years there. The coolest and best business to work for. Really enjoyed it, and yeah, I was very lucky, very thankful to get that position.
How long did you spend with Twitter? You were there from 2012 to 2016, and you went through a load of different roles. You were account executive, senior account executive, like senior agency development lead. What are these different roles? Like they kind of seem the same to me. I know that they take on different responsibilities as you kind of progress. But just for example, what's the difference between an account executive and a senior account executive?
Yeah, so I suppose like I kind of had hoped getting in somewhere like Twitter early, then more opportunities will present themselves as the team's growing. very little difference between an account executive and a senior account executive. It's just that a senior account executive, somebody who's been doing the job for a longer period of time, would usually be working on the bigger clients, and usually would have maybe not directly, but certainly indirectly, a couple of account executives working kind of with them or slash under them a little bit. So either, that's just kind of the levels that a lot of these tech companies would have. You usually come in doing a certain role, and within a period of time, usually there's a senior part of that role, which just means that, again, you're more experienced at doing it. So to kind of summarize those first couple of roles at Twitter, I suppose it was, again, working with directly with the advertisers mainly, and essentially selling to them to encourage them to spend money on Twitter. So again, it was quite new. You're encouraging the advertisers to take their budget from either traditional media or to take it away maybe from Google and start trying out advertising on Twitter. There was a few different formats you could choose from, and so that was, I suppose, incredibly rewarding. You're starting the business. There was no Dublin office. There was no European sales team. You're immediately in to start building the revenue coming through from zero to whatever we grew it up to in a short period of time. So got to kind of ride that wave for a little bit in terms of the working on those advertisers and those agencies for probably the first almost 2 years, and then moved role into the partner side of things, which was essentially expanding Twitter's teams and Twitter's presence across the Europe, Middle East, and Africa region, which meant we were sourcing and finding sales partners in these regions who would then act as the Twitter sales teams. So you basically, what that meant is you're going to places like South Africa, and you're finding a company there who could represent Twitter in that market and start bringing on advertisers in that market. So it was a really effective way of scaling the business quite quickly across a region, because the time it would have taken Twitter to find, an office, hire people, do all this kind of stuff, we could essentially outsource that in a partnership model. So what I took over there was growing that part of the business. So we went from kind of one sales partner in Turkey to I think like 6 or 7 sales partners covering like 30 plus markets across Europe, Middle East, and Africa within kind of 2 years. So that was an exciting part of the business to be on. I essentially had, I suppose, 12 months of, I think I was, out of a year, I think I was traveling 42 weeks of the year, staying in different places, trying to set these partnerships up. And I found that an incredibly rewarding part of the business, because again, you're taking something from nothing, taking it from scratch and growing it quickly into an operation that's bringing in money into the business and increasing the value of the business. So yeah, all very, very cool and very detailed kind of responsibility to get for someone at that level.
Did you ever feel, I suppose, you went into college and you loved marketing, you loved advertising, you kind of got a job where you would have been some bit, I suppose you still got to work with advertising when you were with Sky and Twitter, but a lot of it was sales. A lot of it was CRM and hunting people and, sending follow-up emails and kind of, trying to get your numbers up. Did you ever kind of feel like, I loved brands in college. I loved brand building. I liked the creative side of things. Like, how come you kept up with the sales?
Yeah, so there's, I suppose, 2 things. One, look, you do keep up that element a little bit because you are working with brands on their ad campaigns, and you're trying to, you want them to succeed as well. So you're doing kind of pretty cool and creative stuff with a new tech platform, essentially. So, you're sort of kind of plowing the field there. But no, I think the other thing I found, as like anyone career, what exactly you think you like in college, while you still like it, it sort of evolves over time. So I think I learned about myself is that the operational side of things was incredibly rewarding. And I think, again, the startup side of things I really started to enjoy, where you see the impact you're having day to day on the business, because again, you start working in something, there's nothing there, and then within a few months, something has been created and is having a positive impact on the business. So while I kind of kept an element of the creative side of things, I kind of quickly, realized over my career that there's far more creative people out there than I am. And I think kind of my skill set led itself more to kind of fast-paced, kind of, operations probably. Still focused on the marketing side of things, but yeah, that would be more how I would class it.
That obviously makes sense considering after 4 years of Twitter, you would have joined Slack and you became a team lead on large enterprise sales. Yet another huge role that would have been, I suppose. I mean, were Slack kind of, was this them kind of trying to progress, we'll say, in Europe at the time, or were you dealing with America
Yeah,
as
no,
well?
it was very similar to, I suppose, where Twitter was 4 years previously, which was they had a business in the States doing really, really well, brilliant product. Now, again, in a different space, it wasn't in ad sales, it was in tech sales. And
Mm.
they were setting up a Dublin office. It had been up and running maybe a year before I joined. The sales team was quite small, so got the opportunity to come in and help be part of it and help grow that team, to look after the large enterprise sales clients. So your big kind of blue chip, FTSE 100 companies, and trying to encourage them to move to Slack. So yeah, essentially left the Twitter world and moved to similar in that it was a tech company and trying to build its European operation, but slightly different, and it was tech sales, not ad sales.
Mm. Do you and the guys in the office use
We
Slack?
do, yeah, absolutely. We put the success of early days Gym+Coffee down to Slack because at the time we were working in different businesses, so Slack was brilliant for us to use to communicate, and yeah, we still use it.
When you were working alongside different, I suppose, for example, Twitter, when you were reaching out to the different agencies in South Africa, for example, do any of them ever be like, I wonder how Niall's getting on, and where's Niall now? And it's like, Jesus, he's after starting his own clothing company, and he's doing athleisure. What? That was Niall who was trying to sell us. Are you still in contact with any of those people from past jobs?
Yeah, I am. So I still be in contact regularly with a lot of my colleagues in Twitter and Slack as well. And then on the the partner side of things, yeah, definitely would have a good relationship with many kind of partners we set up. But it's incredibly to see them now, like our South African team, for our partner, for example. They're brilliant, and when when they came on board, they had, I don't know, maybe 4 or 5 individuals, and now I think they have a team of about 150, if not
Whoa.
more. They've grown a huge business off the back of being Twitter's sales partner, and now I think they're the sales partner for Snapchat and Microsoft and a bunch of others out there as well. So it's incredibly rewarding to see that. So we'd still be in contact regularly with them, and yeah, I think there's always an element of I suppose of questioning the move to give up a lucrative tech career to sell clothes on the internet, but yeah, I just felt for me, I always wanted to do my own thing at some stage, and it felt that the stage of career I was at that point, and stage of life I was at, that it was a good opportunity to do it, and so made the jump and moved to my own business.
Yeah, no, 10 years you worked with Sky, Twitter, Slack, some of the biggest names you could think of, and some really cool jobs. An amazing career. 10 years, and in January 2017, you packed it all in and set up an athleisure company with your best friends.
Yeah, well, kind of. Now we did side hustle for most of 2017, so I actually didn't make the jump for a while.
Oh, really? Okay, so there was more of a transition
Yeah,
there.
yeah, like everything. Look, you want to set up a business and want to try it, but you don't want to go all head first in straight away. So we ran the business kind of as a side hustle for I don't know, maybe 3 quarters of the year, and then it was as we saw the business get a bit of traction and a bit of momentum, and we liked what we were doing. We then decided to leave our current jobs and go into Gym+Coffee full time.
Amazing. And since then, you guys have been doing extremely well, especially during lockdown. Online sales soared to 800%. Full year growth was expected to be 200, but you had to bring that up to 300. How, like, when I say that to you, how does that make you feel like?
Yeah, it's kind of incredible, and I suppose as we're chatting, because you're thinking back over different stages of your career, and especially thinking back now to kind of moving into Gym+Coffee first, and we were tiny, we were the three of us in a small room with no windows, and even though we were incredibly ambitious, we didn't think we'd be at this stage already. So yeah, incredibly proud of what we did. that was 2017. We're now up to a stage where we've got an online business. We're servicing most international markets. We've got 6 physical stores. We've almost 60 employees. We feel that we've already achieved so much, but only have kind of greater ambition to do more going ahead. And then it's been a weird first few years in business. You don't expect to have to be dealing with something like Brexit. You definitely don't expect to be dealing with something like COVID. So a lot of hurdles to have to jump when it's already a difficult time to get past your first or second year in business. So we're just, I think, again, very proud of what we've been able to do. And thankfully, over the last few months, we had built a nice and really kind of supportive community around the brand. And then when COVID hit, everybody was jumping in and supporting us, which was brilliant. And we're just trying to keep the pace up and make sure that we continue to execute well on what we can do, and then hopefully that people will still feel the kind of desire to keep supporting a brand and a business like ours.
I think that the start of it, because when we had, I suppose, for the CIT brand challenge last year, it's the community and the brand, and also the sense that you're Irish. I think the Irish have a great way of supporting each other. I think that's a small bit, but also it's the sense of community. Every time I bloody say the word sense of community, I get a flashback to all the presentations we had to do back in second semester. But what you've done is simply, like, Gymshark are class, and fair play to them. They've done a lot of hard work, and it's a really cool success story. But like, their message, be your best self, and you have to be absolutely ripped and just be massive, and it's like, go get those gains. Whereas with you guys, it's just like, stay healthy, exercise, lads, be happy. You got friends, you got family. Just have the fun. We're all here together. And maybe it's because I do marketing, but to me, it makes sense that you would support a brand that is as, I don't know if the word is, I suppose, caring, and just wholesome. It's a nice. It's like, am I making sense, Niall?
Yeah, check. Yeah, no, it was nice to listen to that. It was very complimentary. So thank you. I think, look, Gymshark are an incredible success story. I think they've built a really impressive brand. I think when you look under the hood, their sort of engine that they have, driving it all is incredible. And while there's some similarities, there's some differences, and certainly in the brand positioning, we'd see ourselves in a different place. I think we hopefully have come across authentic in what we're doing, and I think we talk a lot about being sound, genuinely, and being sound as a brand, and we're not trying to tell people that they need to be certain weight or certain size, or put any pressure on people. We do feel it's an important message to get out that people should spend time exercising and socializing, and where possible, trying to do these things together. So we do want to spread that message of health and exercise, but in a little bit more supportive way, that it's instead of going for a coffee, why don't you go for a run and then a coffee afterwards? So I think for us, a lot of the messaging that we try to put out there in our content and our blogs is trying to show examples of either people who are already living this and doing it themselves, which hopefully might inspire others, or else giving people a little bit more detail, so take the heavy lifting out of it for them, so they can go onto our website, find out about what cool things can I do this weekend. We've got our map on our website where you can find out what cool activities there are, what cool coffee shops. And again, trying to inspire people a little bit with that type of content, so it's easier for them to do it themselves. So we're trying to get that message across, but in a bit of a different way. So we're trying to maintain a sound position as a brand.
I wonder, will that ever become an actual phrase we can use in marketing as a whole? Maybe a lot of Americans losing their minds. What do you mean? What sound?
Yeah, I think it'll work for Irish marketing gurus anyway.
Brilliant. Niall, are you ready for the rapid fire questions?
Yes.
Would you rather a gym or a coffee?
Depends on the time of day, but probably a gym.
Instagram or Twitter?
Twitter.
Twitter or LinkedIn?
Twitter.
Have we gotten Gym+Coffee branded swimwear yet?
Not yet.
Are we going to?
Not yet. We'll wait for the next swim season.
Does it annoy you when someone says gym and coffee?
No, it doesn't.
Really? It annoys me so mad. I shouldn't. Why didn't you call it coffee plus gym?
I've never thought about that. I think it just rolled off the tongue a little bit better.
What's more important, a degree or experience?
Experience.
How would you define success?
Very hard to do that, but I would say being able to point to something that you've done that's having an impact. So if you can point to something that you've been working on that you can show the impact it's having, then I think that's a really good way of proving something successful.
What time do you wake up?
About 6.
What time do you go to sleep?
About 10:30.
Would you rather work from home or in the office?
In the office.
Would you rather work in a gym or a cafe?
Gym, I'd say. I don't know. I'm on the fence there.
What's the best piece of career advice you've ever received?
Best piece of career. You get out of something what you put into it. I always think is a good message to get across.
When are you most productive?
Morning. Yeah, first couple of hours in the morning.
You're in a cafe. What do you order?
I order a large latte.
Nice.
And a muffin.
Ooh. Niall, it's been a pleasure talking to you. And thank you so much for coming on to today's episode.
Perfect. Thanks for having me, Jack.